Skoda is coming back into the compact segment, more specifically the sub-4 SUV compact segment with this car that you see behind me. It's the Kylaq. You saw it when it was unveiled a few months ago. You saw it at the recently completed Bharat Mobility Expo. Today it's here with us, and importantly, we're going to drive it, check out its features, and tell you if Skoda has done enough into a market that it desperately wants to get into. The Skoda Kylaq is being offered in 4 variants: Classic, Signature, Signature Plus and Prestige. And further, customers can choose from 7 color options: Olive Gold, Lava Blue, Deep Black, Tornado Red, Candy White, Carbon Steel and Brilliant Silver. What we have in the video today for you is Olive Gold. Now, some of the major feature highlights include dual digital displays, climate control with rear vents, USB-C charging ports, full LED light package, R17 alloy wheels with a diamond cut pattern, and the only engine on offer is a 1-liter TSI petrol producing 114 bhp and 178 Nm of torque. This engine can either be had with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter automatic, which is what we have in our video today. The torque converter automatic is available from one above the base variant. Here is the complete price list for the Skoda Kylaq. Now that you've got the facts and figures about the Skoda Kylaq, here are some of the design highlights that you should check out. This Kylaq is the first Skoda to debut with its modern solid design language in India. In fact, this is the first car that will debut with the modern solid design language from Skoda for India. The large blacked out Skoda grille, black and silver Skoda logo, these low set full LED headlamps that's available on the stop spec model, the LED DRLs and these contrast colored elements on the bumper, which go well with this sort of bright greenish color that Skoda is using as its launch and marketing color. Move over to the side of the Skoda Kylaq, and this is where things get interesting. There are quite a few styling elements to catch your attention, some of which include body colored door handle with silver inserts, large ORVMs with the DRLs built into them, and these very nice looking 17-inch diamond cut alloy wheels specific to the top spec version that we are featuring in the video today. But this is where things get really interesting. This is the back of the car, and between this and the Kylaq is about 200 to 250 mm of difference. But Skoda has done a nice job in sort of compacting it to fit it under the sub 4 meter length, and it doesn't look like a cut down Kylaq. Instead, it's got an identity of its own. And finally, we come to the rear design of the Skoda Kylaq. Some of the major elements include this black strip with the word Skoda on it, the sloped glass line wiper built into it, a small rear spoiler, and of course these contrast colored bumper elements very similar to what is offered in front. What do you think of the Skoda Kylaq's design? Do you think the Skoda should add something to it? Let us know in the comment section below. We're here in the front row of this new Skoda Kylaq, and one of the things working in favor of the car is build quality. Now, going by segment standards and going by some of the more pricier rivals over the Kylaq, the interiors might not look that great, but it's built quite solidly. Some of this, even though it looks like hard-wearing plastic, is actually of smooth quality, and this has a certain amount of bamboo fiber in it as a part of Skoda's Bigger Greener initiatives. And that is something that works in favor of the car. It may not be the best looking interiors, but if you're someone that's buying the car for a 10-15 year period, as long as the first registration certificate will last you, then you can be sure that the interiors are going to live up with time. That's something that Skoda is pretty good at that way. Now, you get almost a similar interiors in the Kylaq where it felt a little, at least one segment lower, but here it seems far more appropriate, both in terms of build quality as well as appearance of some of the materials. You get gloss black plastics here, you get dual digital screens, you get this nice faux leather wrap around the steering wheel, the gear lever as well. Some good bits, some bad bits, but essentially good build quality. Now, adding further to this is the fact that if you look at the roof and the body structure, the shell, the shell as you call it, right? The thing onto which the doors and other things are attached, it's one big piece. There's no welds. You can see it. We put in a shot of the exterior. You can see it one big weld. And this is something that Skoda Volkswagen has been doing for a long time. It's there with the Polo, it's there with the Mento. And that's something that works in its favor. And obviously, working even more in its favor is a recently announced 5-star B NCAP rating. That's something that always works in favor of Skoda and should work in favor of the Kylaq. Now, as much as we like the long-lasting interior, we also want to point out that this car has a pretty decent feature list. We say decent because it's got a lot of segment standard options, things that you would expect in this price bracket, dual digital screens, climate control with rear vents, USB-C charging ports, 2 of them in front, 2 of them in the back. That I think is limited to the top spec model. I think it's 1.1 for the lower spec variants. We'll leave a clarification in the description. Dual powered front seats. That's not something that anyone offers. Ventilation for both the front seat occupants, a full LED light package, 17-inch alloy wheels. And of course Skoda's simply clever storage and user solutions that it has across its cars. It's had it for a long time and it's found a lot little bits here and there in the Kylaq. Things like you get this 3-part cup holder here, you get a large center console, you also get 1-liter bottle holders in both the doors. You actually get multiple storage spaces for your phone. You get one here in the glove box, you get a wireless charging port here, you get one more here, there's 2 more for the back occupants. A lot of places to keep the smartphone or smart device. But that being said, we've said, okay, it's got a decent feature list. It's missing feel-good features, something that will take you above the competition. And especially when you look at cars like the Kia Sonet and the Hyundai Venue, it's missing out on things like 360-degree camera, level 2 ADAS, controllable ambient lighting, recline for the rear seats. Now the Kia Ceros has brought ventilation to the rear seats. That's again new feature. These are all things that they go above what the Kylaq offers, and their USPs in the segment. One of the bigger USPs of the Kylaq is, of course, it's got ventilated front seats, it's got powered front seats on this top spec model. But over and above it, and these are things like we said that you get in various cars across the segment, but over and above it, there are certain cars like the XUV 3XO, the Kia Sonet, Hyundai Venue, all that have features over what you'd expect for the Kylaq in a very, very similar price range. Oh, and we got to point out the Kylaq comes with a sunroof. It's actually one of the first budget Skodas to come with a sunroof. And it's a single pane sunroof with a manual cover and of course electronic and electric opening. I think there are also controls in the connected car system to be able to open the sunroof. This is something we'll leave a clarification in the description below. Now, it's good that Skoda offers a sunroof with the Kylaq. It's a very popular feature for Indian buyers these days, but it isn't a panoramic sunroof. And that, again, that's something we have to point out, that a lot of cars in the segment have started offering. In fact, companies like Hyundai and Kia are working towards localizing their sunroof operations so as to make it lower cost and offer it across more vehicles, because it is a rapidly popular feature with the buyers. We're here in the second row of the Skoda Kylaq, and we want to point out that seating comfort is actually pretty decent if you take 4 occupants. Yes, we're talking exactly 4, because if you put a third one in the middle, especially if you have one person who's slightly on the larger side, they're not going to get a particularly comfortable seat, and the AC vents are pretty close to the rear seats, which means that you're not really going to have much room, especially if you want to put a phone to charge. That's going to pose a problem. But if you decide to take 4 people, it's very, very comfortable. One, because there's more than enough under-thigh support, something that's generally a little bit of an issue in the segment, but here there's more than enough. You get more than enough knee room. It has a pretty decent wheelbase, which means that there's enough space inside, and even the rear seats have a nice bolstering into which you can sink into. Right, you can notice it has this nice thick bolstering on the side, and you can sort of sink into that and it envelops you, right? Very comfortable place to be in. Now, in terms of practicality, you get map pockets here, as they're called. You get holders for your phone, you get rear AC vents, you get USB-C charging ports, and you get 1 liter bottle holders in both the doors, but they're angled slightly oddly, which means that if you need to place a bottle inside, and it's a slightly wider one, you might have an issue. The quality of plastics used is the same as the one in front, except that you get these nice design materials here with this pattern section. All in all, a pretty decent place to be. Oh, and we had to point out, you get a center armrest with 2 smaller cup holders. That's, it sits a little high up, which means that it's actually pretty convenient that way. You don't have to, sort of sag your arm down. In some cars, the center armrest has a tendency to sag down. Here, it's on level. And this, of course, being a Skoda, the rear seats fold down for additional boot space. The Skoda Kylaq's boot stand at 446 litres. The rear seats fold down flat for additional boot space, and that's something that's always been a signature of Skoda, having folding rear seats. They split fold in a 60-40 rear seat pattern. And if you fold out the rear seats, you get an amazing boot space of 1,265 litres. And finally, the loading lip is not particularly high, and you get a surface to balance things before putting stuff inside. The boot is deep, and there's a lot of room for you to stack up stuff, even below the parcel shelf. We're behind the wheel of the Skoda Kylaq, and it only comes with one engine option, which is the Skoda VW Group's 1 liter TSI petrol, about 114 bhp and 178 Nm of torque, and it can either be had with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic, which is what we have for our video today. Now, in terms of tractability and performance, engine does very well at the kind of city speeds that you need to drive. You're not short of performance. It's a peppy engine. It's lively. When you need to get going, the gearbox spools up. I just like throttle, does a nice job. You get going. Really not an issue. Like we said, at city speeds, it's going to do a nice job, right? You're not going to be short of performance. And this is a proper automatic gearbox, a 6-speed torque converter automatic. And you don't get the head nod of an AMT. Things like that. It's generally a smooth operating vehicle in that sense, right? And because it's an automatic gearbox, you're not going to stall. That's one less thing you have to worry about. And it's one of those things, if you leave it to do its thing in the background, it'll keep going. You get paddle shifters, you get a manual mode. The paddle shifters are very responsive. There's no drive modes, unlike some of what its rivals offer. There are no drive modes, but the engine is responsive and lively, and it keeps you engaging. Where we think it will struggle is that if you have a full load and you need to carry it through on the highway or a heavy slope, the car is going to have to put in a lot of effort to get you going. You're going to feel the small size of the engine, especially at that moment, right? Otherwise, at city speeds, tractability not an issue. It's generally going to have good performance and you'll not feel short of it. There are claim mileage figures. We'll put it in the description below. And that is what Skoda is claiming, and that's something, those are claim figures. And once we get the cars in the CarWale garage, we'll be able to test them out and give you real world figures to tell you what this engine is actually like. One of the places that the Skoda Kylaq shines is in terms of ride quality. It's rides almost flat, taking bumps and imperfections without much of a struggle, without sending much back into the cabin. Basically, it doesn't displace the occupants and allows you, it's slightly on the firmer side as you would expect with most Skoda and VW cars, but that's also because it offers you good driving dynamics. I mean, you up the speed and you feel the confidence to push harder because of that little extra firmness in the ride. It gives you that confidence to drive faster. But also Skoda's found a decent middle ground in terms of, the regular imperfections that you find on our road. Even if they're those sharp or jagged edged bumps, you don't really have an issue. You can keep going. One of the other things that we'd like to point out in this driving section is that Skoda has done an excellent job with the NVH insulation, right? In fact, on a smooth blacktop like this, like where we're driving right now, the only thing you can hear is if I mash the throttle and the engine does a kick down to change gears to give you some speed. That's the only thing you can hear. Otherwise, it's pretty silent place. It keeps road noise in control, wind noise in control. That is something that is expected to work in Skoda's favor, especially with the amount of crowd and the kind of traffic we have on our roads. Offering good NVH insulation is something that a lot of customers will appreciate, especially when it comes to a car like the Kylaq in this price category and with the kind of package it's offering. And finally, in our driving section, we also want to point out the steering. Now, dynamically, Skodas have always been known to be fun cars to drive, and this one is no different, right? At low speed, city speed, steering is light and very responsive. It doesn't weigh up completely as you gather the speed and does tend to be lighter than we expected, but it does the job, right? When you need to drive dynamically, it's something that will go with you. It will edge you on along with the performance offered from the 1 liter TSI petrol engine to encourage you to drive faster or in a dynamic manner to up the speed or go quickly as required. Now, as much fun as the Skoda Kylaq is to drive with its automatic gearbox, good insulation, peppy engine, great performance and nice response from the steering, it's lacking something among its rivals, which is that it doesn't have diesel or it doesn't have CNG. Essentially, diversity in powertrain. Almost all of its rivals around it either have CNG option or have a diesel option, or in some cases also have an electric option, none of which this car has. You get it with one petrol engine and two gearbox options, either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. That's what we're driving in our video today. And that is something that may not work in favor of the Kylaq, especially if someone is looking for a diversity in powertrain. They want an alternate powertrain option from what the petrol offers. It's not even like the case that you can fit an aftermarket CNG that's approved by the company. That's something that comes with the Honda Amaze, which is not exactly a sub-4 rival, but is around close to the price of the Kylaq. Now, Skoda has hinted that it is open to CNG for India and would be willing to bring it if it sees enough demand. And that's maybe something we'll know a year down the line. If Skoda's customers are asking for CNG, Skoda may consider it for India. Now, the other thing that could work in favor of the Kylaq is that Skoda has hinted that it will bring a Kylaq-sized EV around 2027, which may spawn a Kylaq-sized EV, right? Especially given that these are the two segments that are going to grow, and it's a place that Skoda wants to be. We may see a Kylaq-based EV, and that may work in favor of the vehicle, especially 3-4 years going down the line when the electric ecosystem in India is significantly developed with more charging points, better battery systems, and so on and so forth. A Kylaq EV may work in favor of Skoda. Now, we've driven the Skoda Kylaq, checked out its features as we told you, and looked at 5 things that we like about the vehicle and 2 things that we think are better, and here is what we discovered. Now, working in favor of the Kylaq is its build quality, the interior space, the segment standard feature list, the tractability of the engine as well as ride quality. Working against it is that while you do get a good feature list, it is segment standard, right? That it's for it to rise above the competition, it needs certain feel-good features, things that it's lacking. Summing up our experiences with this new Skoda Kylaq. Now, working in favor of it is the fact that the engine has a great amount of tractability and drivability, especially in city speeds and conditions. The ride quality is very nice. You hardly feel anything in the cabin, and because it's a little bit on the firm side, when you need to drive dynamically, it's something that works along with the engine to aid you in that driving experience. The quality of the interiors is long lasting, right? Some of it is good, some of it is very hard wearing, but it's a long lasting interiors. It's built very nicely. Like we said, if you check out the seams on the outside, the entire body shell is one piece, and of course the car is scored a 5-star B NCAP rating, which means that it's high on safety also. That is something that works in its favor along with the strong build quality. It's got, especially in the mid variants, right, when you're looking at the competition, it's got a lot of features over the competition or on par with the competition, and that is something that should work in its favor. However, at the top end, while it does have a good segment standard feature list, it's missing some feel good features, things that would up the extra luxury quotient. And that is one thing that's working against it. The other thing is, of course, the fact that it doesn't have a diversity in powertrain. We are hoping that Skoda will at some point offer an electric Kylaq, but that's like way off in the future, maybe another 3-4 years minimum at least, and even that is unpredictable. But at present, while a lot of its rivals either have a CNG option or have an EV option or have a diesel option, this is one petrol engine, 2 gearboxes. That is what you get. But that is something that may also work in its favor, which is that you're getting the same engine at the top end and you're getting the same engine at the bottom end, which means that if you want performance but don't want any of the frills that this car is offering, you'll get that option too at the bottom end, right? If you're planning to buy the absolute base model, the classic model, you'll get this 1.2 liter engine. It doesn't have the automatic option. Just leave a clarification in the description, but you're getting the same 1 liter TSI petrol engine. What do you think of the Skoda Kylaq? Do you think Skoda's effort to re-enter the sub 4 meter segment, a segment that it desperately wants to be in because it wants to be able to expand its offerings, right? It's said that with this car, it will be able to target tier 2 and tier 3 markets where it previously could not make a presence because of the pricing of the Kylaq. Do you think it will work? Do let us know in the comment section below. Do you think Skoda should add or change anything to the Kylaq? Let us know about that too in the comment section. So there you have it, our pros and cons of this new Skoda Kylaq. Now this car is going to come to the CarWale garage at some point, so we'll get to test it out more in detail, give you things like real world mileage, what the interiors are actually like, interior space with 2 to 3 people loaded up inside, can it actually climb a hill, things like that. If you want to know something about the car, do let us know in the comment section below and we'll answer your questions as and when we get the vehicle. And before we sign off, here's a little reminder to hit those like, share and subscribe buttons, and also you can get all the details of the Skoda Kylaq from our model pages on our website carwale.com. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.